Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I just wanted to address for a moment today our appreciation for the partnership and collaboration we have with our county elected officials. You're always receptive to us when we come to you to discuss our concerns and our issues for making sure this community is properly provided the American Red Cross services that we try to offer to all of our South Florida region and especially here in our local community. There was a few things said on the proclamation you might not really have caught. I just want to take a moment to let you know we have a disaster action team that's on call 24 hours a day, and they respond when asked to by, we have a call down system through the fire district. They'll let us know when a house fire takes place, and we go and we provide services. Now, I know most of you are aware of those services, but let me just draw it home. Since July 1st, which is the beginning of our fiscal year of 2019, 7 months, we have provided services to 132 families in this community. And we have provided disaster relief for them because, you know, a disaster strikes, it's not always a hurricane. It can be anything. It could be a flood. It could be a fire. In fact, in Tennessee last night, it was a tornado. We are there. We are right there to provide the need. And we can't do it without the collaboration and cooperation we get from our elected officials. So I want to thank you for taking the moment to recognize us. And I would just encourage you to, if you have any questions about our services, give us a call. I will be happy to sit down and talk to you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to just thank both Phil and Leonard. They are volunteers. I'm the executive director. They are volunteers. They are our workforce. More than 90% of our workforce is done by them, and we couldn't do it without them and the generosity of donors. Because as you guys know, but the public may not know, we're not a government organization, so our funding comes from donors just like you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for what you do. Now we're going to move to item 4 to public comment. The secretary does have some names, and if you're wishing to speak, there's some cards up here that you'll need to fill out and you can leave with the secretary. We are going to ask that for those of you that are coming up to speak to please keep it to 3 minutes because that is the time limit for the public comment. And I'd like to remind everybody at this time to please make sure your cell phones are on silent so that there's no disruption of the meeting. So Madam Secretary, would you call the first person, please?
Mark DeRosa.
Hello, my name is Mark DeRosa. I spoke with you all last fall about the millage rate. I think ironically I was the first one to speak at that meeting as well. I just would like to bring up the idea that we attempt to lower the millage rate at the budget hearings this year. As a taxpayer, we've had 7 straight years of rising assessments. We had a half-cent sales tax that was passed. That was supposed to relieve some of the strain on property taxpayers. We had the school board referendum passed last year, and that's an additional mill. All of this has caused our taxes to go up by as much as 15% in 1 year, depending on where you live. And the county as a whole is receiving over 40% more revenue year over year than we were just in 2013. That wasn't too long ago. So I don't see how our expenses have grown by that much to accommodate this much of a raise in property taxes. As a profession, I'm a landlord, and I can tell you that I've seen the cost of living rise since I started that profession in 2013. I used to rent 2-bedroom apartments for $475, and now those are going for $850. And I'm not blind to the fact that a lot of that is due to demand. People are moving to the area. It's not just because of taxes, but it definitely contributes. And my concern is I see more and more people who are moving in with family, combining living spaces in order to be able to afford to stay here. And when I'm doing this as a living, I have to make a profit or I'm not going to do it anymore. So at some point, somebody has to eat that cost, and it's either going to be me, and then it becomes unprofitable, or it's going to be my tenant, and their quality of living goes down. So and that also goes for retirees. A lot of people who are moving down here because it's affordable, they're here on fixed incomes. You know, the millage rate stays the same, the values go up, and then people are pushed out. So I'm concerned about the affordability of living in this county. I emailed you all last June to express my concerns, and for the most part, that fell on deaf ears. I believe we need real tax relief this year. We don't need a token reduction just so that you all low taxes. I think we need a substantial relief for the people who pay taxes in this county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Shaw.
Good evening, Paul Shaw, third-year resident here. I'm also a property owner, residential and commercial. And, you know, the assessment is going up, and that should mean the millage goes down. Unfortunately, we had the millage rate increase in the last time. Thank God for the 10% cap on this, you know, prior to 10 years ago, you didn't have that. Otherwise, you would actually go so strange that we were falling off a cliff again like we did in 2006. Had a call from the appraiser's office, you know, discussing one of my properties. Assessment's going to go up. It was locked in. I bought it last year. So honestly, got me pretty upset and thinking about whether it's really good to invest sometimes. Mark brought something up on what I've noticed in rental properties. I was saying on the appraiser, well, you know, you got good rental income here and this and that. There are so many, whether it's a 2-bedroom, bath, 1-bedroom house, frequently you have so many income earners in the property to make up so they can pay the rent. And that is really a false reading, a false value. You know, if it takes 3 income earners to hang out in a 2-bedroom apartment, obviously something is wrong. I mean, they might be paying $900 or in the house $1,600, but you have 3 adults living in there. That is something wrong. Technically, it's not even legal, but according to county records. So if you got to keep that in mind. If you think, oh wow, our rents are good, you know, $1,000, $1,200, so that must be worth a ton of money. Let's assess it. Let's raise it up. Forget about it. See how many people are living in there, you know, 2 or 3 families. So it's not exactly what you think it is, and that's why I got to keep a close eye on the tax business and the assessment, keep down, so people can actually once you own it, think or even if it's paid off, you think you're able to afford it. If people pay off properties and still can't keep it, you still get hammered to the point where it's you know a threat to them. So keep all that in mind and advise to other people that have to deal with these values. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe Edge.
Good evening. My name's Joe Edge, and I'm not a candidate for public office, just for the record. I'm a business owner in Port St. Lucie, have been for the last 28 years. Been a Florida resident, St. Lucie County resident for 30 years. And I'm also a landlord, so I certainly understand property values. So I just want to offer up some hard facts for the arguments about the millage rate, property values, and things like that. St. Lucie County does have the highest millage rate. The numbers don't lie. But based on taxable value, St. Lucie County is ranked 44th in taxable value statewide, and 43rd in the revenue that we collect, ranked 26th in taxable value, okay? 43rd in revenue that we collect. Those numbers in and of itself indicate we have a property value problem, okay? I don't think there's anybody in this room that doesn't want higher property values. I don't think so. So what we have is a property value problem, not a millage rate problem, because when we raise property values, you're going to be forced to lower the millage rate. You don't have a choice, okay? But we do have fixed expenses. We got a fire department, a sheriff's department, a school district, and other infrastructure issues that we have to grow as a county. For the record, Monroe County has the lowest millage rate in the state of Florida. That's the Keys. They also have the highest property values. What's that tell you? We got a property value problem. There's some other issues that are related to this. Why do people live in St. Lucie County and commute out of the county to work? Because it's cheaper to live here than it is in Palm Beach or Martin County. Martin County is ranked 5th in property values, and they're our neighbors, okay? St. Lucie County's code enforcement is weak at best. They're good people, I know that. They get no support from the upper management and the county commission. If I asked you right now how much money is owed to the taxpayers of the city for unpaid code enforcement fines, what would you say? Not one of you knows the answer to that, and you should. As a business owner, I walk in work every day. The first thing I do find out who owes me money and what am I doing to collect it, okay? So we can lower our millage rate by doing that, collect the money that's owed to us. And if there's some hurt feelings, that's too bad. If somebody that's violated the rules owes us money, what about the people that abide by the rules, okay? If you want to improve property values, I'm going to go over a little bit. You have to have
Joe, I
proactive.
can't let you do that. It's 3
Okay.
minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you. All right.
Kristen Romero.
Hi, good evening all. My name is Kirsten Romero and I am a Florida-born native. A year ago, we moved here from Broward County because we were attracted to the family-friendly vibe, and there was a beautiful school by the name of Alapata Flats out on Glades Road with a new community going up. And my children said to me, "Mom, we would love to live in this community." And so I said, "Children, let your father and I decide if we can afford to live here." And in doing that, we went over the tax questions, we went over escrow, we went over everything. And I just wanted to reiterate what Mark said. Our problem is our property tax bill does not match our property assessment. And in February, the new mortgage was assessed, and it's actually $1,200 more. So when we were looking at what our mortgage was going to be, we signed a 30-year mortgage, understanding that our taxes were going to be included in our escrow and we wouldn't have a problem. And now our mortgage has doubled by $1,200 from $1,700 to $2,900. And we are in danger of going into foreclosure, and our credit and our entire home, our children being homeless and not having an answer and having an answer to fix the problem. And so here today I speak for other families that are going through the same thing in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Charlie and Lisa Graf.
Hi, my name is Charlie Graf. I moved down here almost 4 years ago, and I retired down here. And with the if they decide to raise, the taxes and the millage, I'm not going to be able to stay here. I'm going to have to look to move somewhere where there's lower taxes. I don't understand what's driving the cost up so high. Wish you could do something to help us out. That's it.
William Rhodes.
I live here in Port St. Lucie, and I moved here 10 years ago. And as a painting contractor, I was forced to take a $10 an hour hit compared to what I was used to making up north, and I found out that I couldn't live here on a $10 an hour cut in pay. So I took advantage of my good credit and I bought some rental properties thinking that was going to be the way to subsidize us. Well, here we are 10 years later, and my tax bill's outrageous. I'm at the point now with 4 rental properties where 2 of them are just offsetters to pay for taxes and insurance. And the 2 that I have, the people are moving out, sticking me on rent because they say they can't afford it. So I don't know where this is going to end, but thank you.
Susan Rhodes. Lisa Perry.
Good evening. I wasn't planning on talking tonight, sorry guys, but I live in Par Estates. We built a house. We moved here 2 years ago. We love it here. But our tax bill is $6,200 a year. Now, if you're going to tell me that that tax bill is going to go up 10%, that's going to push us right out of the neighborhood. I mean, that's $500, over $500 a month in just taxes. How can I live like that? You can't. It's a beautiful area, but I can't even now get the money back out of my home because I haven't lived in it long enough. So now what do? I never expected my tax bill to be $6,200. But we paid it like we're supposed to. We have to do something. I mean, homes, after everybody got their tax bills, go walk around or drive around Par Estates. Homes went up for sale left and right. Why are we losing people? It's because of the tax bill. And the next one is going to be us, because if next year it goes up even higher, we're not going to be able to afford it. You know, you say you can go up 10%. Okay, that's another $620. That's a lot of money. Thank you.
Jan Copeland.
Hi, I'm Jan Copeland. I was here at the last hearing regarding the property taxes. I am at the top of my homestead exemptions. I can't afford double property taxes. The thing is, I either have to move out of the county or I have to get a part-time job. I'm not looking forward to either of those. I am a senior citizen, retired income, and my property taxes have doubled. It's a nice neighborhood. I don't want to leave it. We stayed here for 4 years renting a property about 3 miles south of where we live. And now, you know, we've bought a property thinking that I could afford it. It just gets worse. So you keep nickel and diming me, and I can't keep the party going. So thank you.
Sophie Carter.
Hi, my name's Sophie Carter. I've been here for 15 years. I've come to love Port St. Lucie. I've gone through the crisis of where my property value was doing good. It dropped, seeing empty homes all around my neighborhood. And I feel like that's exactly what's going to happen again. I came to these meetings when I would speak to, I think it was called an assessor, where I would go and tell them my home is identical to the home next door to me, and my property taxes were higher than that person's. I built at the exact same time. I built the same model home, same builder. It couldn't have been more apples to apples. And it was a death's ear of the person constantly stating no, and not just to me. I sat down after he said no to me, that no, they're not going to do anything, and listened to one person after another, especially seniors like you're hearing here, of people stating, you guys are going to kill us. You're going to force us out of our home, force us to move into our kids, with our kids. Something needs to be done, and it can't be a recap of what happened in 2008. And I remember you being at several of the meetings back in 2008, and you were right behind us on, listening to us and speaking with us. Just please listen to our cries. We don't want to leave Port St. Lucie. We love it. But Port St. Lucie is not Jupiter. It's not West Palm Beach. We should not have the millage rate be the highest in the entire state. And sorry, while I have a minute left, one other thing is impact fees here in Port St. Lucie are ridiculous. And again, the highest in the entire state, which is, I cannot figure out why. This is not West Palm Beach. This is not Jupiter. I'd love it to be. I think we'd all love our property value to be millions of dollars, but we don't have that here in Port St. Lucie. So please, listen to our cries, do something. If you want us to do something to help us all as a community together, whatever you need, we will do it, but you need to work with us. Otherwise, you're going to see exactly what happened in 2008.
Christopher Wills. Christopher Wills or Willis.
Hello, good evening. My name is Christopher Willis. I moved here from West Palm Beach about a year ago. Gandhi had once said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." My wife is a pre-K teacher, a job that does not pay well, but she's passionate about. She got a side job where she makes balloon animals, does face painting for children. I am in the, I volunteer 2 days of the week at St. Lucie Medical. That's true volunteer work, no pay. I'm also a member of your Florida National Guard. When the hurricanes roll in, I'm the one that gets activated, pulled away from my family for weeks at a time. For all this selfless service, I saw my taxes jump up 2 months ago to $450 per month. That is a swift kick in the groin for those of us that live paycheck to paycheck. Now, in reaction to that, I've had to cut our dental coverage and make other smaller concessions, not going out to eat, you know, gifts, that sort of thing. But I'd like to see some relief as far as our taxes for an effort to try to make the world around us a little bit better. Thank you very much.
Clarita Agule? Is there a Clarita? Okay. Robert Limoju on Silverwood. Mr. Durham on Vitalia Court.
It's Ms. Diane Duhane. Sorry for the bad handwriting. I live in Port St. Lucie. I'm in District 5. I moved here from Connecticut and also from Broward County. And I'm a retired attorney and I'm a former school teacher. I am absolutely shocked at how much our taxes have increased over the last 4 years. They went from about $6,300 a year to about $8,300 a year. And now they're much higher than they were in Broward in a comparable home. I just ask that each of you please go back, sharpen your pencils, and stop raising our taxes. Even better, please lower them. Thank you. A lot of people have been here before. This is my first time here. I did see it on Facebook. In case of any of you were wondering how we heard about this, a lot of us did hear about it on Facebook. I'm really disappointed to hear that people have written and their comments have fallen on deaf ears. It sounds like there was not even a reply sent to these people. I think that's a disgrace. It seems that the commission, I'm not saying every one of you, but it seems possibly that a lot of you don't even care if we do move out of the county, because if we can't afford it, too bad, just go. We'd like to stay, and while we are here, our votes count, and please keep that in mind, and I thank you very much for your time.
Jerry Bootscheller.
Yeah, it's Jerry Beekler. I live in Port St. Lucie. I'm on the budget committee, so I invite everybody here to show up. It's early in the morning, 7:30, but we have coffee. March 20th is the next one. Same, but at the other end of here, and same. You get off the elevator, go to the left. The next meeting after that is April 17th, because you know there's real needs in this county. The sheriff comes to us, he needs vehicles. We have 1,380 people in the jails. Maybe we can lower that population. It costs $100 a day to keep a prisoner. We also have a problem that was expressed at our last meeting. Just medical is $11 million just for the prisoners in the jail when they have to go off-site to a hospital. There's things that can be done there as far as legislation. At the federal level, there's a bill right now. If they have VA coverage, if they have Medicare coverage, if they have Medicaid coverage, if they have any sort of insurance coverage, it gets stripped from them. And then the burden falls on us. And I don't think that's right. There's bills sponsored by several Democrats, but it needs bipartisan Republican support in order to pass. And that would lessen the burden for us. We have other things like the beaches where the sand erodes, and it's a cost of about $10,000 every day or $4 million a year. There's things being done. There's a sand catchment, which will make sand available and cheaper to refurbish these beaches, but there's other things we can look at. There's a small area in River County where they've built barriers many years ago when the beach was eroding at that area where the restaurants are, the heart of Vero Beach. And for some reason that had an effect on restoring the beach. It kept that area of the beach from eroding. So this is something we can start to look at. But there's really practical things that need to be done in order to lower the budget cost so that we can lower the taxes. But you first have to lower the expenses in order to lower the taxes. That's all I'm saying. And another thing is our reserve. We've been borrowing from it. The reserve is actually going down in this county. And to me, that's a concern. We were in the bullseye of Dorian. Remember that? And luckily it didn't hit us, but other people were very much impacted in the Bahamas. That could have been us. It happened in Bay County. Remember Hurricane Michael? It was going to be a Category 2, Category 5, the storm surge. They now have $450 million worth of debt. They have to borrow money. They're paying $12 to $13 million a year just in interest on their debt. That could have been us. So there's other concerns here that we have to consider. We need to grow a reserve rather than eliminate a reserve.
Chris Thompson.
Members of the board, Chairman Townsend. My name is Chris Thompson. I reside on off of Bayshore Avenue, Nautical Avenue in Port St. Lucie. This past September, dozens of St. Lucie residents pled with this board to ease the highest in the state tax burden that's forcing many of our elderly to have to move out, prospective buyers to look elsewhere, and artificially depressing our home values. And sadly, only one of you, our chairwoman, answered that plea to lower our taxes, or to vote to lower our taxes. And so still, we have the highest tax rate in the state of Florida. St. Lucie is the 34th out of 67 counties in the state for income level, yet somehow we have the highest average millage rate in the state. Now, back in September, we were told that it was not the county's fault, it was the city's fault. Not surprisingly, we've approached our city leaders and they've told us that the county's to blame. None of our leaders want to take any responsibility. We don't care who does it, we just want our taxes lowered. Now, many of you have justified having the highest tax rate in the state, if that can even be justified, but that is necessary to have basic services. The numbers don't support that. St. Lucie municipal and county expenses are roughly 10% higher than both Martin and Indian River, meaning wealthier counties that can afford the additional expense actually have lower, quote, necessities, basic necessities than we do, because they actually spend less per person, even though they're wealthier counties. It seems to me that this is St. Lucie's problem, is that our leaders have a champagne taste on a beer budget, and that beer happens to be the highest price in the state of Florida. We have a lot of things that we're known for here. We're one of the fastest counties in the state of Florida. We have one of the most amazing rivers in the world. It's the most biodiverse estuaries. We have, in my opinion, the greatest people in the state of Florida. But we got to shake this mantle of being the #1 highest tax state or county in the state of Florida. Now, no one's asked you to lower taxes to zero. Our tax rates are 25 to 40% higher than our neighboring counties, causing many people, some of whom have spoken tonight, to consider moving to lower tax counties. The fact is, we should have to leave. The politicians keeping our taxes high need to leave. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have no one else who signed up for public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. If there is anybody else, you can come to the podium and state your name for the record, please. And again, it's 3 minutes. Would you like to go since you're right there, sir?
My name's
Nicholas Thompson, and Chris is my son. Just wanted to mention something he told me that he didn't mention. He put this website up a week ago, and there's 21,600 people that hit that website. You better watch out. There's a lot of angry people out there. You've got some Republican candidates here that are ahead of you in the polls. So, what do you think?
Hi, my name is Chris Rainey. I'm recently retired from the military. I just moved back. My family moved down here in '78. So we've been here for quite a long time. Right? So we've seen a lot over time. And my biggest thing is this, right? We keep talking about, no one wants to say, hey, we can actually save money, and how, nobody wants to say, well, this is how we're going to do it. Well, here's an idea, just an idea, all right? Instead of sitting in $500 chairs, get regular chairs, okay? Instead of spending all the money on make everything look so great, like how much do we pay for mulch, all right? Come on, enough's enough, all right? At what point is it enough out of our pockets, okay? You can skimp on stuff, okay? We don't need all this mulch. We don't need all these new palm trees on every single road, all right? Put some grass down and call it a day, all right? Enough, all right? We're tired of paying. Look at yourself and say, hey, what can we do to solve this problem? That's all I gotta say. Thanks.
Either way.
My name is Victor Bellacor. I moved here from New Jersey 10 years ago. I spent a year online looking at places to move to when I retired from the fire department. And everything that I looked up online showed that Port St. Lucie County was what I was looking for. I retired from the military with 30 years of service between active duty and guard time, 20 years with the fire department. I'm disabled, and I think I've served my community enough. But when I get my tax bill, every year it keeps going up. There's only one other problem. My taxes go up. My insurance went from $5-something a year for my homeowners, $1,300. I have never made a claim. My car insurance goes up. So not only is my property tax killing me, the homeowners is killing me, and auto insurance. So it's getting to a point where two of my neighbors are moving out. They've been here less than 5 years and they're moving. I've been here 10 years. And at the rate the county administrators running the show here, maybe it's time that you should start really talking to people behind me and ask them how they feel. Because it seems like nobody cares. I've made calls to my local office and the mayor's office in Port St. Lucie. In January, I was waiting for a phone call. They don't care. As a taxpayer, you work for us. We don't work for you. Okay? That's it. That's my life and live for the community that I serve for in the public sector as a firefighter and as a military veteran. So I think it's time that you, as the people running the show, pay us some respect and courtesy and think about what you're doing before you start stealing from our pocket. Thank you.
It's okay, it's on. Just
Okay. Hi, my name is Logan Zimmerman. Obviously, I'm 18. I'm learning more about the political stuff as I go along. But a lot of people here, I think, have issues with their taxes, and this is a big problem for them. And I think that they've come to you tonight, and they have expressed their concerns, and I honestly think, not to be mean or throw shade, but I think it's time to listen. You know, there's a lot of people here that have said that they're in danger of moving out of St. Lucie County because of this. I think it's time for the leaders that we have elected, whether we agree or not, to listen to the people. You know, and I think that this is a good tipping point for the people because now they have expressed their concerns and now it falls on your guys. So let's get it done. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Anthony Bona. I reside at 844 Southwest Tulip Boulevard. St. Lucie County has the highest millage rate in the state. And I realize that this commission may very well give us later this year an election year tax cut. However, it's very important to remember that we had an incredible opportunity to give our citizens relief this past year. As was mentioned earlier, the infrastructure referendum passed. Amendment 1 failed. The school district took over the responsibility of paying for school deputies, and values rose again. but only one commissioner voted to give us relief when we needed it. What did the commission as a whole offer us? Smokescreens, excuses, gavels, and political games. I want to address a few of these concerns. Some say the county's per capita tax rate is only $7 above the state average. Ignoring the fact that we're still above the average, per capita is not a very good figure to use because it does not take income into account. One commissioner in particular took to social media this weekend to insult the intelligence of our citizens. Every citizen may not understand the nuances of local government. They just know their taxes are high and they expect their leaders to do something about it. Many ask where we can cut things. They try to stroke up fears of massive cuts and reductions in services. The city of Port St. Lucie has reduced taxes 4 years in a row. We're making progress. There haven't been devastating cuts. Some say this because the city council members raised the rate 5 years ago. But what matters with taxes today, and when you compare the 10 largest cities in Florida, Port St. Lucie's city millage is the third lowest out of the 10. When you add the EOCC tax rates to those city millage rates, we jump from the third lowest to the highest. Let's compare apples to apples instead of oranges. Someone pointed out earlier we were 26th in taxable assessments. Okay, no one's saying we have the lowest tax county in the state. We're saying we shouldn't be the highest tax state. We had someone from the Citizens Budget Committee here earlier. They suggested a 1% reduction in expenditures. When I put a public record request in for any proposal to do this in any department, I came back empty-handed. And so, yes, you may get an election year tax cut. I think we all know that. But it's important to remember who did what and when. Thank you.
Good evening. Joe James at 758 Southeast Outlet Lane, Realtor here in Port St. Lucie. And just from the aspect of a realtor, the numbers of people who are moving into the state of Florida, approximately 800 people a day. Now, as a realtor, that should be good news, because that's a captive audience. But when the people call to see where the appropriate place is for them to live, the cost of their living is that's going to drive that decision. So you have expenses that you hope to be funded through occupied housing. That's where we get our revenue. If you push these people out of their homes and you make it unlikely the new people are going to move in, we're going to get your budget. How are you going to meet budget then? You got less people living here. You've got the infrastructure. You've got South Bend all the way up through back there. Everything's all built. There's roads there. There's undeveloped properties. Will probably stay undeveloped if you don't get this under control. And you better do it quick. Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to come forward to public comment at this time? Seeing no move, we're going to close the public comment. We're going to come back to the board. I've already closed the public comment. I apologize. We try to follow the rules. Okay, so we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Is there anything that anybody wishes to change, add, or comment onto the consent agenda? Also, I'd like to make a note that on the consent agenda.
Do you want to wait a second?
Yeah.
Give them a second. Because there were some changes, right?
Okay, so we're going to come back. There is one addition. It was an attachment that was provided and distributed on 8B, the Air and Seaport. It was added, I think everybody received it on the consent agenda. That's the only thing that's been added or changed to the consent agenda. So does anybody else have anything they would want to change or comment on the consent agenda? If not, I'm open for a motion.
Move approval.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Seeing none, we'll move on. to the public hearing. The first item is 9A1. Mr. Bremer?
Madam Chair and County Commissioners, Jeff Bremer, Deputy County Administrator for the record. You have this item before you this evening. Staff is recommending that we push this to March 17th.
Okay, this is a public hearing, so we're going to open it up. Is there anybody that would like to comment on this? We're going to move it forward to the March 17th. I think it'll be the pleasure of the board, but if anybody did come for this item, I do want to open up the public comment. Is there anybody wishing to speak? We'll close the public comment, come back to the board.
Madam Chair, if I could just add it, before we move it on, I would like to see added to this prior to the discussion, or the March 17th meeting, that there at least be verbiage in order to give an exact location of the area. That's not included in this at all.
Okay.
There is reference to a map as attachment A. I have that as part of my PowerPoint presentation, but I'll make sure to get that to each one of the commissioners.
If you would, because it wasn't part of this.
Thank you.
But I'd still like to see the verbiage included. Thank you.
So is there a motion to
Madam
continue?
Chair, move to continue this to March 17th at 9 a.m. or soon thereafter, as can be heard.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bremer. 9B,